Well, there's going to be a lot of heroics from this, not only from like first responders, but just the people that were the survivors, right? Like caught in the flood. Hearing stories from some of the camp counselors when I was on the ground with them, just telling them like, hey, I was throwing kids out the door just to get them out of the floodwater.
Mountaintops, praise God, I want my world to know the Lord of love has come to me. I want to pass it on.
Oh my goodness.
At a time of incredible loss of life, especially to girls so young, we need heroes. Whether the co-owner of the camp who gave his life rescuing the children, or the first responders who quickly jumped in and feverishly worked through the harsh conditions in hopes of rescuing the stricken. But one hero is making headlines. It's the unassuming story that is quintessentially American. Coast Guard Petty Officer Scott Ruskan, on his first mission, got on the ground in the first wave and made a huge difference. We're going to talk about that on this episode of Taking Off. Hi, I'm Dan Milliken. I grew up in and around Austin, Texas. I spent many summers on the Guadalupe River. I attended church camp on its banks. This one really hits me personally. Let's get to it. It's the 4th of July weekend, 2025, and Central Texas is about to get slammed. A freak storm dumps a month's worth of rain in just a few hours, turning the Guadalupe River into a beast. We're talking a surge from 3 feet to nearly 30 feet in under 2 hours, 26 feet in 45 minutes at its peak. That's not a river anymore, that's a tsunami. Kerr County, about 85 miles northwest of San Antonio, takes the worst of it. The National Weather Service issues a flash flood emergency at 4:15 a.m. on July 4th, but by dawn, the damage is done. Camp Mystic, an all-girls Christian summer camp in Hunt, Texas, becomes ground zero. 700 girls, mostly kids, are there, some asleep, some just waking up when the floodwaters hit. Bridges collapse, roads vanish, and the camp's low-lying areas are swallowed. It's chaos. Kids are scared, they're cold, clinging to whatever they can. Across the region, the numbers tell a grim story. At least 95 dead, including 28 children, and dozens still missing as of this report, with 11 girls from Camp Mystic unaccounted for as of July 7th. Kerr County alone reports 68 deaths. The White House declares a major disaster, and over 400 first responders from 20 agencies swarm the area, backed by Black Hawk and MH-65 Dolphin helicopters. This wasn't just a local tragedy, it was a regional gut punch. From Kerrville to Leander, the floods tore through communities, sweeping away homes, cars, and lives. A 22-year-old woman survived by clinging to a tree all night. A young girl floated on a mattress for hours. A mother and her son held onto each other and a tree to make it through. But for every miracle, there's heartbreak. 27 campers and counselors at Camp Mystic didn't make it. The Coast Guard, Texas National Guard, the local teams have rescued over 850 people, but the search for the missing continues under flood warnings that just won't quit. Enter the hero, Scott Ruskan's first mission. Now let's meet the guy who looked this monster in the eye and didn't blink. Scott Ruskan, 26 years old, is a petty officer, 3rd class with the U.S. Coast Guard, stationed at Air Station Corpus Christi. He's not your typical action hero. He's a former accountant from Oxford, New Jersey, who traded spreadsheets for rescue missions. A Rider University grad, Ruskan joined the Coast Guard in 2021, finished aviation survival technician training in 2022, and had been a rescue swimmer for just 6 months when the call came at 7 a.m. on July 4th. No backyard grilling, hot dogs, and fireworks for these responders. The mission: get to Camp Mystic, 200 miles away, and save as many as possible. The weather was so bad that Ruskin's crew, flying an MH-65 Dolphin helicopter with Lieutenant Ian Hopper, Lieutenant Blair Ogijofer, and AMT-3 Seth Reeves, lost visual and had to turn back at first. It took 6 or 7 hours to reach the landing zone. And when they finally touched down on a soccer field near the camp, Ruskin made a call that changed everything. He stayed on the ground. "I could do more good here," he told his crew, freeing up 2 spots on the chopper for evacuees. And here's what he told CNN.
It took us about 4 different attempts to try to make our way into Kerrville. And finally, on the 4th attempt, with the help of the Air National Guard, the Army guys, we were able to kind of make our way into Mystic. So our original tasking was just to get to Camp Mystic. And we heard there was about 200 campers there, and they were in need of airlift. There was no other way to get them out. Bridges were gone, roadways were gone, and the water was coming up too high for boat rescue. So the only option was airlift. We kind of assessed the scene a little bit, had an internal crew discussion with the rest of the crew, with Ian, Blair, and Seth and myself. We decided the best course of action would probably be to leave me there. At the time, there was no triage coordinator, and just because, it was kind of hectic. A lot of people were needed on other assets and other airframes. We just decided that, hey, we can fit a couple extra kids if we leave me on scene.
Boots on the ground, Ruskin found himself the only first responder at Camp Mystic. 200 kids, terrified, trembling, wet, scared. They looked to him. He became the triage coordinator, organizing groups of 10 to 15 for airlifts to safety. Working with the Air National Guard and the Texas Task Force 1, he directed Blackhawks and MH-65s to 2 landing zones, an archery field and that soccer field. For hours, he led kids through the chaos, keeping them calm and getting them out. And by the end, Ruskin and the team had saved 165 lives, mostly young girls who might not have made it out otherwise.
That aircrew with Ian, Blair, and Seth kind of went to a more dangerous location to try to, airlift a few more people out of a tighter landing zone. And they were able to airlift about 15 people, 15 children out of there. And they left me on scene at Camp Mystic. And there, I kind of helped facilitate some of the organization and the triage, just comforting these kids. And getting 165 of them out on the Army Black Hawk helicopters.
So who is Scott Ruskin? He's not one to toot his own horn from these interviews. He said the real heroes were the kids on the ground, he told Good Morning America. They were dealing with the worst day of their lives and staying strong. That inspired me. Before the Coast Guard, he crunched numbers at KPMG, but something called him to serve. And after enlisting, he trained in California, learning to swim through brutal conditions and haul people out of danger. Stationed in Corpus Christi, he was ready but untested until July 4th.
Grabbing one crock for them, like a lot of the kids didn't even have shoes on. I was just carrying them to the helicopter because they're stepping on wet rocks and their feet might be cut up and stuff. So just that experience of these camp counselors and the kids too, like they're being so brave and tough. And like, I know there's a lot of them I was able to kind of like get hands on with. And if you guys, seriously, like you guys were the best. Like, I'm sorry this happened to you guys, but you guys were so brave and tough. And it made me like a better rescuer because you guys were acting so bravely.
Ruskin's humility shines through, but the world's taking notice. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem called him an American hero on X, saying his extraordinary bravery embodies the Coast Guard's spirit. The White House has echoed that, praising Ruskin and his crew for running into the storm. From the New York Times to Fox News to CNN, his story's everywhere and for good reason. This guy's the real deal. This isn't just about one man, though. It's about what happens when preparation meets opportunity. The Coast Guard's MH-65s with their night vision gear were critical when other agencies couldn't even fly. The Texas National Guard's Black Hawks pulled 361 people to safety.
And any fear and stuff I had, I kind of just pushed it aside for a little bit because I'm a rescue professional. This is kind of what the Coast Guard rescue swimmers are known for, just kind of getting the job done. And any of the rescuers on the scene were doing the exact same thing as me. They were all super professional, some of the best men and women I've probably worked with. So
There are questions about the weather warning system, and in the days and weeks ahead, there will be time to review that. But right now isn't the time for two political sides to be swinging at each other. For pilots and responders, Ruskan's story is a masterclass in decision making under pressure. He didn't just follow orders, he assessed, adapted, and acted. It's what we always talk about. People don't rise to the occasion, they fall to their level of training. And in Ruskan's case, that training was on high ground. And for the rest of us, it's a reminder to stay ready and trained, whether it's flying or on the job in the office, or a flood, or a fire, a curveball that life throws your way. Be ready. And for those that have lost loved ones, your pain is unimaginable, and we lift you up in our prayers. Scott Ruskan's first mission wasn't just a job, it was a defining moment. 165 lives saved, countless families reunited, and a nation inspired. The Texas floods showed us nature's fury, but Ruskan showed us humanity's fight. And as the search for the missing continues, let's honor the heroes, let's learn the lessons, and let's keep pushing forward. There are many more heroes in this tragic event. Some we'll learn about, and some that frankly we'll never know. But thank you to the first responders, the city, the county, the military, the Coast Guard, who jumped in so quickly while conditions were still dangerous to try and save these lives. Like the hero of Camp Mystic, Scott Ruskan, just one of many. Thanks for watching. And if you want to see some of our hardcore aviation content, check out our sister channel in the hangar by clicking right here. And thanks to our sponsors like Colton Mortgage for making this report possible. Colton is a mortgage company run by a pilot, and in a day and age of fairly universal rates, they're all offering pretty close to the same rates. You need someone who can answer questions, even if the answer doesn't profit them, and that's Colton. Reach out to them at coltontakingoff.com. And finally, if you want to see another one of our reports, check this one out right here. Thanks again. Remember, superior judgment trumps superior skills. Take care.